Huh? I got to hand this. I'm old school. It's got an all. Old school handout. 40-year-old technology. Huh? Yeah. I got 40, so I think I got enough. If not, they'll have to share. I think the regular crowd shut. Am I on? Am I hot? Okay. Brother Pitsley, would you say a prayer for us before we begin this morning?
Let's bow. Heavenly Father, thank you for this morning. Thank you for the opportunity we have to come and study your word together. Please be with all the teachers and all the students. We may pay attention to your word and understand the meaning behind them so that we can live our lives for you. For all this in your son's name. Amen.
Thank you, brother. Our class today is on the word covenant. Now, I'm old school, so I don't have the PowerPoint thing going on. So, old school, 40-year-old technology, I'm handing out photocopies of an outline. Now, when I was in school, they had the mimeograph, purple things that smelled, you know. But at least it's photocopies, so you don't have to smell it. You know, when I was dating Robin before I was a member of the church, I thought it was amazing that a preacher, no matter what the topic was that he was preaching on or teaching on, he always wound up talking about baptism. I said, that's strange how you can, whatever the topic is, you wind up talking about baptism. So what I learned from that is, no matter what my topic is, I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about. So anyway, we're going to talk about the topic, but no telling what else is going to come up. So the topic is covenant, and on the handout, I got it in the plural. Luckily, I didn't get any controversial topics like some of you have gotten. But covenant, I thought was pretty safe. And I'm not going to get maybe not a lot of argument on covenant, but we'll see. What is a covenant? Anybody want to just throw out the layman's definition of what a covenant is? That's exactly right. Contract. I did look up in my 40-year-old Webster's dictionary. By the way, in 40 years, words change. I guess you know that. But covenant has not, best I can tell. I'll read what Mr. Webster says because everybody else is doing that. It's an agreement between two or more persons to do or refrain from doing some act. A compact, a contract, as she said. In biblical usage, the agreement or engagement of God with man, as set forth in the Old and New Testament. A formal agreement of legal validity, an incidental clause in such legal agreement. So it's a contract, as she said. Now I will put away this. I don't think I need it. So if you go through the Bible, there are a lot of covenants, especially between two men. Kings have covenants with kings. Abraham had a covenant with Abimelech. Isaac had a covenant with Abimelech. All kinds of covenants, but I'm only going to focus today on ones that God is involved in. God and different people, God and us. We're probably not going to get through it, but we'll make it and if we don't, that's okay, because you've got the outline. And if we don't get done, you can go home and finish it. The two that I want to spend the most time on are probably the first and the last one. So let's get started. Now these dates, the only one that I know is exact. I've got dates on all the covenants. The only one that I know is exact is where it says flood was 1,656 years from creation. I know that's right, because you can go back and add it up. But the others I got off of different things, and they're probably approximate. To kind of give you an idea of that. And I've got the verses up there. If you don't mind, put that first one up. We're going to look at the covenant between God and Noah. We are included in this covenant. It's the first one. Best I can tell, it's the first covenant in the Bible. And you know, when I first started to do this study, I thought, well, covenants are always conditional, like an if-then statement. If you do this, then I will do this. But that's not true with this one. This is a one-way covenant. It's unconditional. It was made with Noah and his seed, which guess what? That includes us. We are all descendants of those 8 people that came off that ark. And it was a covenant that he made with the animal kingdom. It's an everlasting covenant, and we'll see that. I'm going to ask some of you to read for me because I'm going to get tired of reading. But right now I'll read these first ones. Okay. But with thee I will establish my covenant. This is God talking to Noah. And thou shalt come into the ark, thou and thy sons, thy wife, and thy sons' wives with thee. Okay, 20 through 22. This all kind of runs together. And Noah builded, and this is Old King James, by the way, is why it sounds like this. Noah builded an altar unto the Lord, and took of every clean beast and of every clean fowl, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And the Lord smelled a sweet savor, and the Lord said in his heart, okay, now get this, I will not again curse the ground any more for man's sake. For the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth, neither will I again smite any more everything living as I have done. Okay, now let's think about that. That's a big thing. You know, the flood wiped out everything that was on the face of the earth, with the exception of you on the ark, you're okay. We're going to get to the rainbow in a minute, but this covenant here means that no longer, okay, let's read while the earth remaineth. That's a key phrase. While the earth remaineth, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease. Okay, so doesn't this give you a little bit of comfort? Here we go, the global warming crowd. You know, the earth's going to, we're going to all die. First of all, who's in charge? That's right, God's in charge. So God gave us a promise, a covenant, the first covenant in the Bible after the flood, that he was never, ever again going to wipe everything out. But the key phrase is, while the earth remaineth. So when that happens, there is going to be global warming because, when Peter says everything's going to be burnt up with fervent heat. But who's in charge of that? It's not us. Okay, so it gives us a certain amount of comfort that while the earth remaineth, all these things are going to keep going on just like it always has. And he's not going to do this again. Okay, now he continues on that a little bit. Chapter 9, verse 8 through 18. God spake unto Noah and said his sons with him, saying, and I behold, I establish my covenant, there's that word, with you, and with your seed after you, us, okay, and with every living creature, the animals, with you, of the fowl, the cattle, every beast of the earth with you, from all that go out of the ark to every beast of the earth. And I will establish my covenant with you, neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by the waters of a flood, neither shall there more be a flood to destroy the earth. This is continuing it on. And God said, this is the token of the covenant which I have made between me and you and every living creature that is with you for perpetual generations. What does that mean? Okay. Ever heard the perpetual motion machine that doesn't exist? It's supposed to keep, anyway. Next. I keep going. I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a token of a covenant between me and the earth. And it shall come to pass, when I bring a cloud over the earth, that the bow shall be seen in the cloud. And I will remember my covenant, which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh, and the water shall no more become a flood to destroy all flesh. And the bow shall be in the cloud. I will look upon it, and I may remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh is upon the earth. And God said to Noah, this is the token of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is upon the earth. And the sons of Noah that went forth of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and Ham is the father of Canaan. Okay, so 2 parts of the covenant. The first part is, I'm never again going to destroy all flesh and all the animals while the earth remaineth. That's the first part. And the second part is, if I do, when the earth doesn't remain, I'm not going to do it by water. And we know in Peter, he's going to do it by what? That's right. So those are 2 parts of that covenant. And we are included in that covenant. And I've gotten on here, the sign is a rainbow. Now, I did a sign with every one of these covenants, and sign's probably the wrong word. I guess symbol would probably be a better word for this. When we see that rainbow, that's what we should think about. I want to recommend a documentary. Now, I'll probably get in trouble, but I ran across this thing. We don't pay for TV anymore. We stream things. I don't understand how it works. We got a little box, and it streams things. And something we stream through something called Freevee. Does everybody know what Freevee is? It was a documentary called Is Genesis History? Okay, I would highly recommend that you watch that. I'm not going to get into a lot of it, but I will say this. Let's talk about the Grand Canyon. That's one of the things that was brought up in this documentary. The smart people in academia will tell you that, anybody ever been to the Grand Canyon? Okay. That thing took billions of years for that little stream going down through there to carve out that huge canyon. Now, this documentary has people with PhDs that believe creation. 6 days of creation. Did you know any of those PhDs even existed? They wouldn't found them all. And it's a really good documentary, and they have very good evidence that, hey, that Grand Canyon didn't take billions of years to carve out. It was done in a matter of minutes and hours. Instead of it taking billions of years and a little trickle of water, guess what? It took a very short period of time and a whole lot of water. And I wonder when that was. But anyway, and it keeps on going for like an hour. So I would highly recommend that. It's called Is Genesis History? If you can find it, I would highly suggest you look at it. Okay, they're not paying me to say that. I really enjoyed it. The next covenant we're going to look at, by the way, this is your class. I like comments and questions. I don't care if we don't get through. So anybody want to say anything? That's probably one of my favorite covenants to talk about. Okay, y'all quiet this morning. Along comes Abraham. God and Abraham. Okay, Genesis 12, 1 through 3. Somebody help me out with some of these. We're going to read, I'll read 1 through 3. Somebody, while I'm reading that, look up chapter 15, 18 through 21, and be prepared to help me with that, please. Somebody else, chapter 17, 9 through 11. And somebody else, chapter 17, 23 through 27. Y'all get that? I'll keep you awake. Chapter 15, 18 through 21. Okay. We all know the story. The Lord had said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, in a land that I will show thee, and I will make of thee a great nation. I will bless thee and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee, and in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed. What's that talking about?
where all descendants were all coming from.
But what's the blessing? That's right. This is a messianic prophecy. I'm sure he didn't know that. Didn't know what he meant by that. Okay, next. Somebody got that?
On that day, the Lord made a covenant with Abraham, saying, to your offspring I give this land from the river of Egypt to the great river, the river Euphrates, the land of the Kenites, the Kenizzites, the Cadmonites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Rephaim, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Girgashites, and the Jebusites.
Now you know why I got you to read it. Yeah, all those names. This old redneck don't want to read all those names. So what's this promise have to do with? Back up to 18, just really quick, Aiden. This is what's called the land promise, or a land promise. Now, we get into all this in politics today with the people thinking that all this still applying to Israel and all these lands, that I've given this land, and we won't get into all that. This is what, they say, have given this land, and tells them exactly where it's going. Okay? Now we're going to find out. If you remember the whole story, I won't go into the whole thing, but Sarah decides to get involved because she's not having the son soon enough and all this stuff. So Ishmael is born not of Sarah. Ishmael, Abraham thought was going to be the child of promise. The Muslim world today thinks that Ishmael is the child of promise. But now if you go, let's look at, what's the next one? 17, 9 through 11. Who's got that?
God said to Abraham,
Stereo!
thou and thy seed after thee in their generations. All right.
It's okay.
This is my covenant which you shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee. Every man child among you shall be circumcised. And you shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant between me and you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now I jumped ahead with my comments. I was looking down one line. Okay, keep going. 17, 23 through 27. You can get that one there. 23 through 27. And I want y'all to pay close attention.
So Abraham took Ishmael his son, all who were born in his house, and all who were brought with his money, and made every male among them of Abraham's house circumcised the flesh of the foreskin that very same day that God had said to him. Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised, and the flesh of his foreskin, and Ishmael his son was 13 years old when he was circumcised, and the flesh of his foreskin. That very same day, Abraham was circumcised, and his son Ishmael, and all the men of his house, born in the house of all his money from foreigners, were circumcised with him.
Okay, so God told him that He's going to wants him to circumcise all the male. How did He put it? The children and the I forget how it was worded. Oh, the ones that were bought. Okay. Okay, go back to verse 23. And Abraham took who? Ishmael. Well, that wasn't the child of promise, was it? But God told him, everybody in your household, who Ishmael was 13 years old. He went and had him circumcised. This is a promise made with Abraham and his seed. That doesn't mean that the promised one is going to come through Ishmael. But I just want to bring that up, that he was circumcised. And you know what? I got a note down here. Interesting fact. Over 90% of Muslim men who are really following after Ishmael are circumcised today because of Ishmael. And that's more than the Jewish population. It's more than 90, it's on up in there. So they take that, seriously. They look at themselves as being the descendants of Abraham. Now, this is interesting. Only 1% of Japanese men are circumcised. Different cultures have different ideas about circumcision. I don't want to get all the medical. We tend to think it's the more sterile thing to do, the more medically safe thing to do. Not everybody believes that. But if you look across the globe at the rates of the circumcision is higher where you have, I want to say, Christo-Jewish tradition. This is where it all came from, and I'm sure there was a reason for it. Okay, where was I? 17, verse 19. Here comes Isaac. Did I give this to anybody? Okay, I'll read it. And God said, thy wife shall bear thee a son, indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac. And get this, I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. So here's where God lays it down and tells Abraham, this is the son that I'm going to keep this covenant with. It's Isaac. Okay, Genesis 22, 15 through 18. Okay, here we go again. The angel of the Lord called unto Abraham out of heaven the second time, and said, By myself have I sworn, saith the Lord, for because thou hast done this thing, and hast not withheld thy son, thine only... This is after Abraham took Isaac up the mountain. Not withheld thy son, that in blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed, as the stars of the heaven, and as the sand which is upon the seashore, and thy seed shall possess the gates of his enemies. And in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because thou hast obeyed my voice. Here again, how can all the nations of the earth be blessed? Through Christ. Okay. And Isaac is where the lineage is going to go. You say, well, Mike, why are we even talking about the seed promise was given to Abraham to go through Isaac? Why are we talking about that? Somebody turn over to the New Testament, to Galatians 3:29, and this is why we're talking about it. And if ye be Christ, then ye are Abraham's seed, and heirs according to the promise. What promise?
Eternal life.
Yes, it's eternal life. All right. We are the heirs of that promise. Now, that's why I said, if you look down the next line, one-way covenant, unconditional, everlasting, we are included. Okay, but where I kind of messed up is if you look down the next, I said the sign of this is circumcision. Well, I didn't think that through because somebody was looking at my outline and she said, well, are you trying to say we have to be circumcised? I said, no, that's not what I'm saying. But, and kind of, what's the operation of God today in the New Testament, which will be kind of a reflection of circumcision? Operation of God?
Baptism.
Yeah. I should have put circumcision / baptism, but I ran out of time. You want to write that in? Oh, the heart, yes. I didn't look up the verse. There's a couple of verses. I didn't look them up. But anyway, that's all we're going to talk about, God and Abraham. I got to move on. We got the law of Moses out there, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the law of Moses. God and Moses had a covenant. Exodus 19, 5 through 8. Somebody get that. And then Exodus 24, 3 through 8. And then somebody else, we're staying in Exodus 31, 13 through 17. Everybody looking one up? That's all we're going to talk about on the law of Moses. So Exodus 19, 5 through 8. Somebody.
Now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. And you shall be unto me a
Okay, and
Is that,
yeah, that's,
and all the people answered together and said, all that the Lord has spoken we will do. Moses returned the word of the people to the Lord.
you know, Bud, that screen's a long, where'd Bud go? That screen's a long way away, you're right. It's hard to read it. Maybe I should turn around. 24, 3 through 8.
And Moses came and told the people all the words of the Lord, and all the judgment, and all the people answered with one voice and said, all the words which the Lord hath said we will do.
Mm-hmm.
And Moses wrote all the words of the Lord, and rose up early in the morning, and builded an altar unto the hill, and the 12 pillars according to the 12 tribes of Israel. And he sent young men of the children of Israel, who offered burnt offerings and sacrificed peace offerings of the oxen unto the Lord. And Moses took half of the blood, and he put it in basins, and half the blood it sprinkled on the altar. And he took the book of the covenant, and he read in the audience of the people, and they said, all that the Lord has said we shall do, and be obedient. Moses took the blood, and he sprinkled it on the people, and said, behold, the blood of the covenant which the Lord hath made with you concerning all these things.
Okay, 2 points here. The people said, we will do it. They said it twice there. We will do this covenant. We're going to do it. Did they do it? No. For a while. The other point I want to make is what ratified this covenant? First line. Blood. You'll see that without remission of sin, you know, without the shedding blood, there is no remission of sin. This is pretty common. It was ratified with blood. Okay, and now chapter 31, verses 13 through 17. We'll learn something else about the law of Moses.
Speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, During my Sabbaths you shall keep, for it is a between me and you throughout the generations, that you may know that I am the Lord that does sanctify you. You shall keep the Sabbath therefore, for it is holy unto you. Every one of them that defileth it shall surely be put to death. For whosoever doeth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people. 6 days may work be done, but in the seventh is the Sabbath of rest, holy to the Lord. Whosoever doeth any work in the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death. Wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations for a perpetual covenant. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day he rested and was refreshed.
Okay, so it said the sign of the covenant was what? It's a Sabbath. Look at 13. Y'all need to, comprehend. Verily my Sabbath you shall keep, for it is a what? Between who? Okay, next verse. Next verse. 6 days, okay, next verse. Wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath. So who's it given to? Who's the law of Moses given to? Children of Israel. But this Sabbath was a sign. I also have, let's look at, to put it in today's goggles, let's go to Galatians chapter 3 again, and I'm going to read these, 23 through 27. But before faith came, we were kept under the law, shut up unto the faith which should afterwards be revealed. Wherefore the law was our what? To do what? Okay, that we might be justified by faith. But after the faith has come, we are no longer under schoolmaster. Okay, we'll stop there. We won't go. So the law was a schoolmaster. It was given to the Jews. It was temporary. It was for Israel only. And I've got the sign of this covenant is the Sabbath. Now, I wrote down the Ark of the Covenant because we didn't talk about that. But what was the purpose of the Ark of the Covenant? They carried this thing around everywhere they went.
That's where the law was kept.
Okay. Robin's going to tell me all the other things in there, I'm sure. Okay, she's not going to tell me. But anyway, we won't go to the Ark of the Covenant. Let's move on to the next covenant because I really want to get to the last one. I don't want to run out of time. I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but God made a covenant with David. And just real briefly, who can tell me, and you can cheat, you can look on the paper. It's okay. And tell me what that covenant was all about. Third line.
It was covenant. God made with David that the Savior would come through his lineage
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
be brought into the kingdom through that seed. Am I on the right track?
Yes. The kingdom would not depart from David's seed. Was Christ David's seed? That's bizarre to think about that. You know, Christ is God. He created the world. He became man. But when he became man, it just so happens he was of the seed of David. But the whole thing about God becoming man, it just blows my mind. But anyway, we won't go there. This covenant is made with David's seed. David's seed would keep the throne forever. Was this a conditional covenant that God made with David? Don't see any conditions in it. And the sign of it is Christ. And I'm not going to read all the verses, but because I'm wanting to get to the next one. Let's look at 2 Samuel 7, 12 through 16. We'll leave the psalm out. Somebody want to get that?
Thy days be fulfilled, that thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, I will set up thy seed after thee, which shall proceed out of thy fathers, and I will establish his kingdom. He shall build a house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. I will be his father, and he shall be my son. If he commits iniquity, I will chasten him with the rod of men, and with stripes of the children of men. But my mercy shall not depart away from him, as I took it from Saul, whom I put away before thee. Thy house and thy before thee, thy throne shall be established forever.
Okay, there's several things in the Old Testament where they use the word forever, and we make arguments, well, that doesn't really mean forever. And I'm not going to get into that, but this means forever. Because Christ is the final king. He's the King of kings. There's not going to be any other king. You know, to have a kingdom, you have to have what? A king. And he's that final king. Luke 1, 30 through 33, and then we'll move on. Luke 1, 30 through 33. I'll read that. And the angel said unto her, Fear not, Mary, for thou hast found favor with God. And behold, thou shalt conceive in thy womb, and bring forth a son, and shall call his name Jesus. He shall be great. He shall be called the Son of the Highest. And the Lord God shall give unto him the throne of who? His father David. Which means descendant of David. And he shall reign over the house of Jacob for how long? Forever. And of his kingdom there shall be no end. We're in the kingdom, folks, and it's not going to end. And he's the king. Okay. The sign of this covenant is Christ himself, or the symbol. And now I'm going to move on to page 2 of the outline, which is the new covenant. which was announced some 606 years before Christ, before BC. Instituted around 33 AD. Isaiah 59, 20 through 21. These short ones without the big names I can read, but I need help. I'll call them.
And the Redeemer shall come to Zion, and unto them that turn from transgression in Jacob, saith the Lord. As for me, this is my covenant with them, saith the Lord. My spirit is upon thee, and my words which I have put in thy mouth shall not depart out of my mouth, nor out of my mouth of thy seed, nor out of the mouth of thy seed's seed, saith the Lord, from henceforth and forever.
Okay, I don't know why I stopped there, but go verse 22 and see what it says. I might have made a typo. Okay, well then that's all there is. Okay, Jeremiah 31, 31 through 34. How many minutes is that? 5 minutes, okay. Oh, let's focus on this. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was a husband unto them, saith the Lord. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel. After those days, saith the Lord, I will put my law in their inward parts, God, and they shall be my people. And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, Know the Lord, for they shall all